Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's August 31st. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays because we're going into the long weekend and Labor Day weekend here in the U.S. There'll be no trading on Monday, and so I may just take. I'm probably going to take off tomorrow too. If I come in, I'll at least upload a mid-morning chart, but if you don't see one, you'll know that I probably just didn't even come in tomorrow. So I'm not sure if I'm going to come in or not. I'll probably come to the office for a short period, and if I do, I'll upload that chart. But if not, because I'm not going to trade tomorrow, I'm going to take the day off. Pretty good trading day today. Today was really easy to read. At least I thought so. For a change, it wasn't such a difficult day to read. Um, you did have to switch gears. But that's not that hard to do once you get the experience of doing it. I know it's hard for traders early on. You get honed into a trend and then all of a sudden it goes flat. It's hard for you to switch gears, and if it's flat and then switches into a gear. But as you get more experience, that does get easier. And most of the setups today were real clear. We'll go over them. There's not a ton of trades today, but every one of them seemed relatively easy to see. Um, there are just no real surprises. Everything. Notice we got this two-tiered channel working up. You get a break, move to a new high. You get a failed second entry long right there. Chance to go short, ride that down, and then you get a failed second entry short. Thought it would reverse there. It didn't. Quick, easy scalp though. Um, and then we get this sell off down to the. We finally got the new low on this. And notice how that's a failed break below that support resistance line. We were acting as resistance, then it's been support. And that's that major low of the day. If you catch it, if you catch that, you ride this thing all the way up. And then this was a little more difficult. I'll talk about this area right in here. You know, this late in the day, that flat, that tight of a range. But there's some reasons to like this one, and I'll talk about it when we get there. But you know, if you didn't like that trade or didn't take it, I can understand why. So, first trade I saw, real simple here, right after I got here. Notice that we were trending up, been trending up all night. We moved down. You get a first entry long, pull back, second entry long. Look at that reversal bar. Look where it is. It confirms your trend line right off those first two swings. It's confluence there between your EMA and your trend line. Great, good looking reversal bar, closed on its very high, very strong. You can't beat that setup. It's a little bit large bar, so you might let it break higher and put a limit order in. But on that setup, I'm going to go long right there with a stop regardless. But if it's outside the rules and you're fairly new, you probably want to let it. And you could have let this break higher and got in almost maybe two ticks back into that bar and got a much better entry. But sometimes you'll miss the really good trades if you get too conservative. So you got to weigh the options. And generally, I really thought this would take on off. I was surprised it kind of hung around a minute, but once it got going, it took on off pretty well. You get a little higher low here, and so real small bar. Again, it's really right there at the trend line. My trend line's just off just a hair. If you put it right on that low there, and you can see it. And so that's right off the trend line. So I like that one. It's just another touch of the key entry point. You had to be a little bit concerned about these highs, but with that being off a key entry point and this trend being pretty strong, and of course you want to measure the first move up, and from here you're looking for a measured move, and what do you know, you almost get a perfect measured move. And so that would have been your target, and so um, something to shoot for. So that really leads me to want to enter off that key entry point. That's another quick easy move, and you would have caught a runner off this, and of course it pulls back here, but notice what happens. It's two legs back to test that breakout area because we pushed right on through pretty easily, and that's the first pullback. It's a second entry long, pullback first entry, pullback second entry. Another real small bar. I think it's only 3 ticks. It's right at the EMA. It's testing the breakout area, support resistance area. It's a failed break out of this. We had a failed break higher and then a failed break lower. Second entry. I mean, there's just so many reasons to like that trade. and you're looking for prices to make a new high and maybe get that measured leg that I showed you a minute ago, and off it goes. And you would have had a runner here again, and off it goes. And notice what happens if you just draw your short-term trend line. You finally get a break. It tries to go higher twice, so that's like a double. It does make a new high too. It makes a double top, one tick higher. So that's, you got enough there that we probably get a little correction at the very least. And we're not as far away from the EMA here as I would like, but you're still far enough away that it's probably worth risking. Another thing that might have scared you out was the break was really below that bar. And so this bar is a tick lower, so it's a little closer. Then you get that little inside bar, but again, it's only about 3 ticks. So what you might do is let it break lower and drop a limit order back, even with this bar or where you would have originally entered, and you would have got filled, and then the bottom falls out and off it goes. And so you get a break here. You actually get a failed second entry short. It didn't push through the EMA and pull back, but it's still somewhat of a reversal pattern. So you figure prices may push higher for a second leg. So you might enter there, but really the play is still down at this point. So I recommend skipping that one. And then of course your second entry short's horrible here. You're just kind of going sideways. That is a doji right there. That's a 1 bar trading range. It closes pretty much in the middle, and it breaks lower, and when it fails instantly, well, now you got a double test of this level here. So I like going long there. It's somewhat sideways, so you might have skipped it, but I like going long there because I really figure we're going to come back up and try to test this high again, because that's a pretty good trend up. Even though we've already had a break and a new high, they like to test that again. And at this point, I'm thinking that we may just find a flatter trend, and that's what it turns out to be. It doesn't end up going long, taking off from here, but that's the idea, and that's what you're looking for. And it's enough for a scalp, and then the bottom just falls out again. You might have treated this like a failed break higher and considered going short there. So if you did take that short, I'm a little leery of it because this type of day doesn't mean you couldn't end up with a range day or a downtrend from here, but this looked like a continuation of the bull trend we've had the last couple of days. And so I was looking for maybe a correction here and then a move higher. So if you're thinking like that, you might go short here, but we're making higher highs and higher lows all the way up here. So I think you're better off to skip that one. In fact, I'm just going to make it green. I wanted to talk about it. So, and you could argue for it to be red. It's real close. It could swing either way. But look what happens. You finally come down and make that new low, and you get that failed break lower. Look how far we are away from the EMA. It's like a failed break lower on this support resistance line. I like going long right there because you figure we're at least coming back to the EMA, and we may get another leg down that gives you an equal leg to this. So that's what you got to be concerned about right there. But so we didn't quite have that. But because of that support resistance line and how far away we are from the EMA, if it turns higher, especially with that little bit of a reversal bar, it didn't close on its very high, but it's more bullish than it is anything. So I like that one, just to ride it back to the EMA. And I talk about this all the time. If you get these failed break lowers, especially if you're thinking you may get a continuation trend here, which is what I was kind of thinking today and what you should have been thinking, there's always a chance you catch a major low, and guess what? That's a major low for the day. We didn't go anywhere but up from there, and so you'll see that quite often. I love these setups, and even if even if they're a little bit aggressive, they're worth taking most of the time because all you got to do is catch one of them, and you're going to catch a runner and probably get a nice move up. So one leg up was back to here, and then when you measured that one, you can see you measure that leg and pull it over, and then so that gives you a target back up here to what looks like. And I got this trend line off these highs right here. I drew it right off those highs, and originally I drug it down to here, and it does fit there. And if you've got it there, that's another reason to be a little bit concerned about going short here. But honestly, it fit better right in here. And if you play it that way, there's a break and a new high. So you could still argue for it either way. Of course, if you put it right down here, it still fits, but you don't get as many touches and so forth as you do. It fits much better right there. So, but once we dropped lower, I just drug it down here to the low just to see what would happen. And of course, we went up, and then we just started going sideways. And when it dropped lower there twice and bounced off that line and gives you that big bullish bar, I like going long there. You have to be a little bit concerned about these highs, but it looks like we reversed here now, and so I think that one's worth risking. Again, it's a real borderline. You could probably argue for it to be green, but if you found that trend line and you realize that when it broke lower there twice and tested that it's bouncing off that, then that gives it a little more credence for going higher. But I wanted to talk about this too, because look at this. This is obviously some pretty strong resistance, and we tested it once, we tested it twice. So you might have considered going short there as well. But it's just so sideways. I don't think you want to risk a short, especially after a move up like that. And this is not, it's not like we had a trend and a break and if we get a new high, we're probably going to reverse. This is just a trend all on its own, a new trend that started up. And so the fact that we're just going sideways there, then it's also tempting to go long right here because it looks like you probably would have had this line right here at that point. So it looks like a little failed break lower. And that's a fairly bullish bar, but there's still some reasons to be a little bit concerned because you got 1, 2 bars already there with a matching high, and that's the third bar with a matching high. And so that concerns me a little bit. If you did go long there, when it starts going sideways here, by the time you get a couple of dojis in there, I think another trader sent me a question. I'm not sure if this is where it was, but it looked almost exactly like this. And he asked me, should he have exited there and taken what he could get? And I told him yes. He might have been talking about over here somewhere, but it looked just like this. I can't remember where he was asking about, but it seemed like it was before 1 o'clock that he asked me that. So yeah, once you started going sideways, if you did enter long there, I would exit. And then I wouldn't be looking for a short here. We traded up into this, so you really got to be careful about going short anyway. You're mostly only going to be looking for a long here. So when it drops below here twice and bounces off that trend line, if you found that trend line, I'm a little more inclined to think, hey, we're probably going to finally push up and make a new high here. You don't know if it'll continue on and give you a measured leg, but you figure it's going to test these highs and maybe make a new high, even if only a tick or two. And that's going to give you room to get out. So I've marked that one. Again, it's real close, borderline. You could almost argue for it to be aggressive, but there's enough reasons there. If you saw all those reasons, consider entering there. So good trading day. Like I said, most of these trades were relatively easy to spot and straightforward. And it wraps up a pretty good week. So again, Monday's a holiday, so no chart lesson or midday on Monday, but definitely no chart lesson tomorrow, and maybe I'm undecided whether or not there'll be a mid-morning chart tomorrow, so just have to play it by ear. So if you don't see one, you'll understand why. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for the day, wrap it up for the week. We'll be back to start a new month. I guess it'll be on the 5th. So anyway, I'm out of here for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.